When was the last time that you walked into a brick and mortar record store to buy music? Prior to a couple of months ago, for me, it was September 2009. Let's get into this. Time to make a malt liquor video. Oh, Town Hellbilly back again with another one. Malt liquor label out. Delicious. It's absolutely refreshing and delicious, ladies and gentlemen. Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor. Brewed and packaged by hardworking, patriotic Americans, and you need to support that. Okay, let's get into it. So this might be a bit of a long one. So settle in, get yourself a 40 ounce of malt liquor, and enjoy it. I'm shooting for under 20 minutes, but we'll see what we got here. I got a lot to talk about tonight. As you can tell by my setup here, I mean, you know what we're going to get into. And the link in the description and all that of the video and everything else. Vinyl records, LPs, record albums, so to speak. A tangible piece of artwork, you know, if you will. About 4 months ago, I was bored one Friday evening and I decided to go into a rabbit hole of YouTube, and that's exactly what I did. My first query was, how do they manufacture a vinyl record album? I was just interested in that, and I searched it, I looked it up, a bunch of videos came up, I watched a few of them, I thought it was an interesting process, and then you have suggestions, and it showed all these guys and gals, women talking about vinyl and why they collect it and all this and that, so that fascinated me, of course. And I decided at that moment that I'm going to get into vinyl because I love music. I mean, to do this, you kind of have to love music. It's difficult, it can be expensive, it's costly, depending on how much you want to spend on equipment and all that. We'll get into that in a minute. But if you really enjoy music, and the type of music that I enjoy more than anything else is punk rock. And punk, it just sounds better on vinyl. That's how the artists, I think, intended you to listen to the music, and that's the way it is. I'm mostly into punk. I like jazz too. Gangster rap and hip hop from the 1990s. I'm a little bit of a, you know, old school type of guy with that Wu-Tang and all that. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, NWA and everything. You know, all that. That sounds great too. But punk and jazz just kind of hits differently. That's how the artists intended you to listen to their music. Malt liquor label out. I'm running an Audio-Technica LP120 with the USB on that, you know, a Sony STR DH190 receiver, amplifier, and Sony floor speakers. And I bought all that stuff at Best Buy. Upon doing a lot of research, I wanted a direct drive turntable. You know, the auto return ones are cool, there's nothing wrong with that, but based off of what a lot of these guys had said, they said the direct drive is kind of the more, you know, true experience of it. It requires a lot. You can change out your cartridge and all that. You can do a lot of different things with it. It's got that S-shaped tone arm. It just, you know, you're not dealing with any belts. You know, you're not going to have that issue or anything else. It's direct drive. It's simple in that, but it's a little bit more complex in other areas. Balancing the tone arm. Some of this stuff was a real pain in the ass, but we got to figure it out, you know, obviously. And I've been enjoying music in a way that I never really had. I'm 47, so when I started buying music, it was cassettes, and then we went into CDs, and then MP3 downloads, iTunes, and all of that. Malt liquor label out. Oddly enough, on August 1st, 1995, I walked into the Sam Goody record store in Alexandria, Louisiana, and that's the last time I purchased a cassette. And that cassette that I purchased that day was Raekwon the Chef, Only Built for Cuban Links 1, the purple tape. This right here, this masterpiece, this absolute masterpiece right here. That's where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. That is a masterpiece of hip-hop and rap, and it is what it is. This is, you know, this is what we got right here. This is one of the best Wu-Tang solo albums that there is. That Liquid Swords. There's a couple other ones. I purchased the CD and the cassette that day because in my 1995 Chevrolet Camaro, I had a cassette player in there. That's the way it came. It came stock with that. It's a couple years before I put the CD player in it. Malt liquor. The very last CD that I ever bought was on September 8th, 2009. And oddly enough, it was this masterpiece, the Only Built for Cuban Links 2, Raekwon the Chef, Only Built for Cuban Links 2 album. That's the last CD I ever bought. I don't have the CD anymore. But I saw those, I saw the part 1 at Amoeba Records in San Francisco, and I picked it up immediately. It was the last copy they had on the shelves that day. And part 2 I got off at Discogs because it's hard to find that, you know, in stores around here. Malt liquor. It's a good way to experience music. It just hits differently, especially punk rock. You know, Black Flag is my favorite band, and I'm trying to, you know, get all of their LPs together and get all that stuff figured out, and at some point I will. Refreshing and delicious. Let's set the tone. Set the tone a little bit. Shout out to Lou Bag Larry and 209J Jones. I know how much you love punk rock, 209J Jones. Malt liquor. Now recently, in Sacramento, I was able to find this this TSOL LP. You know, the first album they ever put out, the self-titled, wonderful, great sounding, good pressing, outstanding, great album. Highly recommended if you're into punk rock. And what we're playing right now, the Exploited Punk's Not Dead. Sex and Violence. I did get to see them in concert in Sacramento a couple, almost 3 years ago now, May of 2019. Great show. Malt liquor. I'm very fortunate in the area that I live. There's a lot of great places to go to purchase vinyl. I mean, in the Bay Area, down in Oakland, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 Go Records in Oakland. You got Econo Jam Records, which, as a matter of fact, I picked up this at Econo Jam 2 days ago. After work, I stopped off down in Oakland and picked that up. Subhumans, The Day the Country Died. I had been looking for that for months. That is that's the rarest record that I got in my collection. It's a quintessential punk rock album if you're into punk rock. You know, I'm glad I have it in my collection. I'm glad I was able to find it for a reasonable price. And the recording is excellent. The pressing is excellent. It's not warped. There's no scratches on it. It plays really well. I don't think it's been played that much. It's just sat on somebody's shelf for a long time, which is fine. Malt liquor label out. The whole crux of this, of collecting anything really, but especially collecting vinyl, to me it's like therapeutic. I enjoy it. If you love music, you have got to listen to it in this format. You just kind of have to. You have to experience it in that format. My generation, you know, my parents are boomers, and this is what they had. This is all they had. And then as 8 tracks came in the 70s or whatever, and then, you know, cassettes came in the 80s, you know, it started to get better, quote unquote better. I wouldn't say all that, but it became easier to you know, you're not going to have a record player in your car. or your truck. You're not going to have it. You had to have a cassette deck in there in order to be able to listen to music. Start the show right here. So that's how it changed. That's how it changed. But they were still pressing vinyl. It was still going on. And I think that punk and underground metal, shout out to Loot Bag Larry, by the way, underground heavy metal and Nick Gutted, that kind of kept the vinyl pressing plants open, because it would have been completely dead if there wasn't punk rock or underground metal or anything like that. And there were certain artists that said, well, I want so many of my albums pressed on vinyl. That's the way it is. You look at the 1994 Soundgarden thing, which I read about on, somebody had posted on one of the Facebook groups a couple of days ago. It's extremely rare, but apparently the artist demanded a vinyl pressing of it. I think that's what the crux of the story was. And this guy finally found one, and I'm sure it was expensive. You know, so that you had a little bit of like a niche market, that's all it was. These these 7-inch, you know, singles right here. I actually got this at the show before I even had a record player or any of that stuff going on. Millennials and Generation Z never had the opportunity to go shop for music. Going to the record store is an experience, a wonderful experience. I absolutely adore it. I love it. More than anything else. Looking around, looking through all the bins. You might have been in that place a couple times already. You see a bunch of stuff you already saw. But there might be that one. There might be that one that you're looking for. You never know.
Where to invest $1,000
Ads. YouTube.
Real estate, or cryptocurrency.
Get out of here. All right, we'll do that again. We're on repeat on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Live television, it does happen. We're talking about vinyl. We're drinking a 40-ounce of malt liquor. It's a Friday evening in California. We're having a good time. Malt liquor. They never got that experience that my generation got and my parents' generation got. You know, and their parents before them, shopping for music. I mean, you go on iTunes or whatever, and you look up your thing, you do what you do. Fine. It's not the same thing. Here we have a tangible piece of something. You got the artwork right here. You got that cover art. You got what you got. You have a tangible piece of something directly from the artist, from the artist's soul. Great album, by the way. I was able to get this off the SST website. They don't have any more right now, but I don't know if they're going to press anymore. Hopefully they do. And this is my favorite band. This is my favorite album by my favorite band right here. Black Flag Damaged. It's on this side, yeah, right there. Hold on, yeah. More liquor label out. Live TV, folks, it does happen. My slip mat on my turntable is a Black Flag slip mat. You want to have a piece of something, even if you buy more vinyl, please do. Even if you don't own a record player, seek out your favorite artist. Run down to your local record store and support those American patriots that run that record store. You know, buy a couple of pieces of vinyl. People that buy vinyl just to flip it on eBay or whatever it is, I don't care about that either. Have a good time with it. Good. The more that you buy, the more they're going to press, the better off it is for all of us. In 2019, the sale of vinyl record album LPs eclipsed the sale of CDs for the first time since 1986. And in 1986, the CD was in its infancy. I think it was invented in 82. But in 86, they started putting fucking, music on it or whatever. But this is where it's at. It sounds better. It's got that richness and that warmth that I don't know how else to describe it. That's the way it goes. Malt liquor. Now, as I, you know, here's another example. This agnostic front first warning. This is a European pressing, I think from Italy. They gave him the rights, whatever. I have 2 copies of that. This is my sealed copy that I just got. I got it down at the Phono Select in Sacramento last weekend. I listened to that album quite a bit. It hits so. I mean, it hits differently on the on vinyl. This has some of the Don Fury recording sessions on it, which, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I don't think that's ever been released on vinyl before. My understanding is that the 1995 CD only Grand Theft Audio release of Raw Unleashed was the only release that they had of the Don Fury recording sessions, like the extra, you know, the outtakes and all that stuff. Let's rewind that. We're going to do that again. Shout out to Loot Bag, Larry Saxon violins. Liquor. That's a masterpiece right there. Is it rare? I don't know. I don't know how many. I don't know how many they pressed, but it is a masterpiece. The sound on that, you know, the aggression. It's like it's 1982 all over again. I had to have an extra copy that's sealed. On these right here, I got to find extra copies to keep them sealed because I'm probably going to wear these out, you know. There's a lot of things about vinyl that's a little bit disheartening. Over time, your stuff starts to wear down. You got to really monitor everything. You got to get like one of those. You got to clean your stuff all the time. You got to get all the dust and the static off of it and all that. You got to get certain poly bags to store everything in. You know, this is a labor of love. That's what it's all about. And I absolutely love it. If you love music, it doesn't matter what you like. You know, you could be into like metal, alternative, you know, glam rock, classic rock, jazz, classical, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just has it hits differently, especially with punk rock and jazz. Malt liquor. Ladies and gentlemen, I must confess I am half in the bag. I'm enjoying my evening. Enjoying my 40 ounce of I'm enjoying my Mickey's 40 ounce of fine malt liquor. Now, as we progress with this, as we move forward, I get a Discogs order in. I'm waiting on that Thelonious Monk album with the Japanese pressing. I'm supposed to get that probably tomorrow. That's what the tracking said. We'll see what happens. I ordered that off of Discogs. They had it at 1234 Go Records in Oakland, and I stupidly did not pick it up, and I should have. It was a good price. I ended up having to pay more on Discogs. That's how it goes sometimes. Malt liquor. Almost at the swill. But this is a wonderful hobby, and you gotta. It's like I said, it's a labor of love. You have to enjoy. You have to be able to love music. You have to love music to be able to do this on this level. I don't know. And I absolutely do. I love going to shows. I love listening to music. You know, whatever. All day. At work, driving to work, driving home from work, at home, whatever. As soon as this masterpiece is over with, I'm going to put that Subhumans record on and I'm going to rock it out. Malt liquor. Approaching the swill. Some people call the swill the best part of the whole thing. Approaching the swill. Malt liquor. Keep the label out, label facing the camera at all times. Crack the 40 ounce of malt liquor on camera. Follow the blueprint or don't even bother making videos, malt liquor. Shout out to Shady. Shady, I know how much you love punk rock. And Cause of 25. Malt liquor. No Froad foam. Can't leave any Froad foam in there. No Froad foam. None of your foam, Froad. Buy more vinyl. That's all I can tell you. If you're into it, you're into it. You know. There will be no punk rock and malt liquor this weekend. We'll save that for next weekend. And I got a run to do on Friday after work next week. We're gonna get more vinyl. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, and that's the way it is. O-Town Hellbilly, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever you gotta do. I'm out of here. Malt liquor.